It is extraordinary to see this level of destruction anywhere, let alone in a tiny village like this one. We are not near any military targets for miles. This is a village that has no real strategic value, and yet it was the subject of a fierce Russian airstrike on Friday afternoon. Just take a look at this. Houses all around this area were hit in that Russian airstrike. What you're looking at here is the remnants of the house of a man named Igor, who we spoke with earlier. There's a huge crater here in the ground. He lost 5 of his family members, as well as a friend. His wife and his wife's friend and his mother-in-law were in a car when the strike happened. They were killed. His daughter was in the house in her wheelchair, and she was also killed. We spoke with him earlier today. He said that obviously that he is just empty. He seemed disoriented. He's horrified by what's going on, and he said he doesn't know what he is going to do now. So this destruction all over this village, and that just goes to show, Abby, that this is happening all across this country. The Russians clearly trying to get closer and closer to the capital of Kyiv. We know that they are making pushes down from the northern part of the capital as well as the west in their efforts to encircle it and to strangle the city and to try to cut it off. We've been keeping a close eye on that column that has been getting closer to Kyiv, but it is, as far as we know, still at a standstill. But Abby, the fear now is because of the lack of progress that the Russians have made on the ground, because of that fierce Ukrainian resistance, that the Russians will step it up in the skies, carry out more and more airstrikes, just like this one, not only on the cities to then allow ground troops to go in, but also on the general population, on civilians, to get people to submit, to get people to leave. And as the Kremlin continues to say that they are not targeting civilians, they are not striking residential areas or civilian infrastructure, it is examples like this that just show you how indiscriminate these attacks are and how badly Ukrainian civilians are suffering. Abby?
And Alex, where you are, I mean, to be clear, is there any military significance to what you are seeing around you that could justify this kind of attack? And what does it tell you about the intensity of the attacks as we go into this week on the city of Kyiv?
Play War Thunder now. Join millions of players across the globe in massive battles on tanks, aircraft, and helicopters in the most extensive.
It says 2 things, Abby. I think it says that it's completely random. We don't know where and when attacks are going to happen, and that they are indiscriminate. So, as we've said, the Russians have said that they're only going after military infrastructure. That is clearly not the case. This home has nothing to do with the military. There is nothing within miles that has anything to do with the military. So that begs the question, are the Russians really bad at aiming? Is that why they've killed hundreds of civilians and they've hit all these residential areas? Or do they simply not care? Is it that they are simply just trying to bomb the Ukrainian population into submission? And it looks more and more like that may be the case. Now, the Russians have said that they've agreed to allow people out through humanitarian corridors. But we've already seen today bombing north of here near an area called Irpin, where people are trying to get out, where people have been killed. So it does certainly appear, Abby, that all bets are off, that certainly we cannot believe what the Russians are saying when it comes to their intentions here, very clearly not just going after the military infrastructure, but hitting civilians as well. Abby?
Thank you for your excellent reporting, Alex Marquardt, and stay safe out there. And joining me now is retired Marine General John Allen, the former commander of the U.S. and NATO forces in Afghanistan. General Allen, what Alex just described to us, he's where he is physically today is in this sort of southwestern city just outside of Kyiv. We also, as he just mentioned, have seen shelling in a northeastern part of the city. We know there's also been fighting near this Antonov airport as well. What do you see here that the Russians are doing? They have struggled to take this city. What are they doing now?
Well, first, thanks for all of the work that CNN and the other networks are doing with brave reporters like Alex in the field shining a bright light on this Russian aggression and this humanitarian catastrophe. What you're seeing is the response to Alex's rhetorical questions. Are they bad at aiming, or are they making war on the Ukrainian people? Well, it's both. Mm-hmm. What we've discovered is that the Russian military is far less capable than we perhaps proposed or believed that they were. But they've also now shifted because of their limited capacity to take the objectives that they need to set themselves up ultimately for the westward encirclement of Kyiv. They've now begun to attack the people themselves, hoping to break down their willingness to oppose the Russian thrusts.
What is it about Kyiv that has made it so difficult for the Russians to advance? I mean, they are coming down from the north, and also now they are attacking the west, but it has been more challenging. Why is that? Is it the geography, or is it something else?
Well, it's both. First, this military is road-bound in many respects. They don't get off the roads, and the availability of the terrain for wide-open maneuver is very limited. So they're on the roads, and that has created both a congestion on the roads. The logistics in supporting their columns has been poor, and they've taken casualties. The Ukrainian military has fought. The initial Russian thrust down that main axis towards Kyiv, which was the principal axis of the Russian advance in the entire country. They believed that the Ukrainian military would fold, that the Ukrainian people would accept the Russian presence in their country, and that the government would unravel. None of those things has happened. And with this, frankly, marginally capable military, they've had to resort to the Russian reflex, which is a lot of firepower to accomplish their objectives.
And the cities in the south and parts of the east have already experienced that. Just to show our audience here, we have seen intense fighting in the cities of Kherson, of Mariupol. We know Kharkiv has been under siege. And as you heard in our intro to this block, they are talking about a lack of food, a lack of water, potentially a lack of electricity. Are these just simply war crimes that are being committed? And is this what we can expect to see as they try to finally take the city in the north, Kyiv?
Well, the answer to your question is yes, these are war crimes. And there should be a long list of people who could be susceptible to indictment as a result of the war crimes that are being committed every single day against the Ukrainian people. It's not just the firepower, it is the human misery that is being inflicted on these populations in the towns that you've just listed. And coming out of the Donbass was one thrust, going after Kharkiv was a second thrust, and coming out of Crimea and attempting to control the southern coast of Ukraine along the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov was a third thrust. And they've had some success there, but it's been less success than they had hoped. And really, the success on the principal thrust against Kyiv has been held up because of the Ukrainian resistance.
But they are going for the city of Odessa next.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question of that.
And Odessa is actually quite close to Moldova, potentially creating a major humanitarian crisis. You have President Zelensky saying to his people this morning they are coming for Odessa. What do you think is the significance of that city and the Russians potentially taking control?
Well, it's one of the principal connections still into the Black Sea. And the fall of Odessa really isolates Ukraine from the Black Sea. And of course, it isolates the entire southern coast, if you will, of the Ukraine from the capacity for us to support them across the Black Sea. So it is part of the strangulation of the country, which is inherent to the campaign the Russians are waging.